Welcome to Engine Adventures. Today, the 2020 Mazda CX-30 all-wheel drive. This is the first Mazda I've had. I've driven some older Mazdas, but this is the first time I've had a new one in the press fleet. And just like everything else Mazda, it is an excellent driver's car. This one's front-wheel drive based, of course, but is all-wheel drive. CX-30 is all new for 2020.
Sorry for the glitching. I'm not sure what's going on with the camera here.
Here we have a 2.5 liter inline four-cylinder that makes 186 horsepower and 186 torque. I believe that's correct. It might be 187. I'll put that up on the screen. But it is a good little engine. So it's not super powerful, but it's plenty for this vehicle. This CX-30 slots in between the CX-3, which is a little bit smaller than a Mazda 3, and the CX-5. So this is kind of like a Mazda 3, I would say, SUV sized or crossover sized, and it drives really quite similar to it. It does have like torque vectoring, and that's done by braking, but it also transfers the power front to rear as needed. And it kind of, Mazda touts this system as being proactive instead of retroactive. So, you know, instead of detecting wheel slip, then transferring power, it's reading all the conditions, including, there's like 27 conditions that it's reading a couple hundred times per second. And it adjusts the all-wheel drive system as needed based on those settings, or those sensors, I should say. One of those sensors is the windshield wipers, your steering input, your throttle input or brake input, of course the wheel speed sensors. There's a whole bunch of stuff there that it's looking at. So this one is the premium trim or top line. All right, so inside it's pretty nicely appointed. This is their top trim level. The leather actually feels pretty good. It's a kind of a soft leather, and yet still durable. So like the seats are a little bit harder, and then where you rest your arm, it's a little bit softer leather. And even down here, leather trim on the sides, and leather up here. So it's pretty nicely appointed, I should say. Heated seats, not ventilated. I don't know if that's an option or not. There's an extra button there, so it probably is an option. And pretty basic as far as controls go. Super easy just to control everything you need. The radio is kind of weird. I don't like how the radio works. So you can push this side to side, and what that does is scroll back or scroll forward in time. So rather than changing stations like that, you're scrolling back on the same song, you know, 10 seconds back or whatever it is, which I don't like as much. And to scroll through stations, you can't just get to a spot where you spin this dial. So it is a little bit annoying. And the same up here. So this scrolls forward and back within the song instead of switching through stations. And I wonder if there's a way to change that, because that doesn't make a lot of sense. You'd rather just have this change the stations. Anyway, you have 6-speed automatic transmission with paddle shifters, volume control there. It does have the adaptive cruise control. And this one has the automatic high beams. I don't know if it has auto wipers or not. One thing about the CX-30 that is unique is it has this button right here, which is the off-road button, which we'll play around with a little bit later. There, as far as I can see, there's no traction control off, but there is a sport mode, which is always nice to have, and it definitely holds on to the gears a little bit longer. It keeps it from upshifting as quick, and increases throttle response and a few other things. Mazda does a really good job. I sorry, I can't pronounce it, so I'm not going to say it, but they have this term they use, and it means being at one with the vehicle. And Mazda really does a good job of that for the driver for sure. You basically have a really good connection with the vehicle. You know what it's doing. It doesn't have any surprises or tricks or anything that's going to throw you off. You just feel really connected to it, and you're able to drive it pretty aggressively without any issues, just because you know where the limit is. You know what it's going to do. If you're powering into a corner, you're going to understeer. If you're kind of coasting into the corner, it'll be neutral. And if you brake into the corner, you can do some brake oversteer. It just does what you want it to do, and it's very consistent and predictable. Mazda has done an amazing job with that. As far as charging ports go, there's just the one here, and then this center armrest is interesting. So it slides forward, and then you can't open it, but if you slide it back, then you can open it. And it does have a drop camera in it. It does have a 12-volt outlet and a USB. And I mean, this is a pretty small vehicle, so there's a small amount of storage in there. Again, pretty nicely appointed back here. This leather actually feels a little bit softer. I don't know if it's just because of what's underneath it. But there are no charging ports or anything back here. You get just a couple of vents and your window switch, but that's about it. There's not a lot back here. And the center armrest, this is definitely pretty comfortable leather. A couple cup holders there. It's soft. If you're leaning into this, it's a very comfortable center armrest. I just feel like Mazda, I can't really compare this to a ton of different vehicles, but it is very well designed as the ultimate driver's car. I know BMW uses that phrase, but Mazda has done amazing things with being ultimate handling car. When they used to do I think it was Car and Driver, maybe it was Motor Trend. I think it was Motor Trend. They used to do the ultimate handling car, and the Miata won it like the first few years, and they switched to the best driver's car. And while the Miata and other Mazdas still rank pretty high, they just aren't a match for supercars anymore. Anyway, that was a big tangent. No pocket here because driver, right? This car is all about the driver. So there's one on that side. You don't want something in there that's pushing against you or whatever while you're driving. It's just very driver centric. Small hatch here, it's powered. And an okay amount of space. Like I said, this thing's pretty small to begin with. It's basically a Mazda 3. Sits in between the Mazda CX3 and CX5. A couple little tie down points. And spare tire with the tools. All right, let's wait for traffic to clear here a little bit. And we'll do our 0 to 60 run uphill. Here we go. $60. So by no means is this a very fast vehicle. That was in sport mode, just flat footing it, no brake, power braking to start or whatever. So like I said, not a ton of power. It's 186 horsepower, 186 torque, but it's like the other Mazda vehicles. I mean, apart from the Speed 3 and the Turbo Miata and stuff like that, they just haven't had a ton of power ever, haven't been real fast, but their handling characteristics are so good that it totally makes up for it. So we'll go to that next. All right, hopefully our road's clear here. Talk about the handling a little bit. So you can come in kind of hot, brake it, and it goes into an oversteer. Same thing here, understeer, brake, oversteer. and it does a really good job. There's a cyclist in front, so I'm not gonna be able to do much more. I think we got this corner at least. But you do a little bit of brake and it totally just transfers the weight perfectly. Gives you what you need. All right, let's go over the Monroney real quick. The window sticker here. 27 mpg combined, 25 city, 32 highway. The base price of this one is right there, 29,600. And then it has just two options: the frameless auto dim mirror, which actually I think looks really nice. My first thought getting into this thing was, that's a good looking mirror. Anyway, and then the navigation system, which is $450. So your total options on this thing are $725, and then your destination charge brings it up to $31,370. So it is the premium package all-wheel drive, so basically the top of the line. It comes standard with tons of stuff. There are more options you can get, but yeah, this thing is very well equipped from the factory. Has a top trim level.
Thanks for watching Engine Adventures review of the 2020 Mazda CX-30. Excellent vehicle overall, really enjoyed driving it. Mazda does a great job designing their vehicles to give you perfect feedback. And like I said, you can really control it. If you want to do understeer, get on the throttle a little bit. If you want neutral steering, go in, no throttle, no brake. And if you're trying to oversteer, just touch the brake a little bit as you go into the corners and it will oversteer. Just perfectly balanced. Such a great car to drive. Really good fit and finish. Great quality interior materials. Overall, excellent. It just lacks a little bit of power. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications, and have a great day.